Hello and welcome to another episode of the Just Flying series. Set a few things up and one stage of flap applied. Set the altimeter, although this is a little bit pointless as I won't be too bothered about what altitude I'm actually at, but we'll do it anyway. And we will be using this one as intended after takeoff, but it's no use to us right now. And you may have seen me do this before, where I set the needle to display the wind direction. That gives me a nice visual clue to compare with the runway or whatever else. Default Baron again, just in case you hadn't realised. And as we can see from the needle, that's pretty much 90 degrees crosswind, isn't it? So it's not going to matter which way we take off. Although a bit of care will be needed as it's 16 knots. Definitely feeling that. Quite a bit of rudder in use to keep us pointed in generally the right direction. We're up. We are flying. Climbing okay. Aircraft cleaned up. A little bouncy up here today. Should we have a fly past? The weather might look nice, plenty of blue bits up in the sky, but definitely some turbulence up here today. Just trying to climb a little bit first as we need to turn left and get up and over these mountains. So that's the general direction that we're heading. Certainly being blown around. I'll probably get us pointed in the generally right direction and stable-ish. And Mr. Autopilot might be having a go after that. I don't know, 20-30 minutes or so of flight or whatever the timing is, and I'm not going to fight Mother Nature for that long, trying to keep us straight and level. With this amount of turbulence, it's fun in real life, but there you have not just your main senses, but also the millions of little gyros in your body that combine and give you that one big sensory input. And with that, it's easier to feel the movements of the plane and catch them and almost anticipate them. So real world turbulence in a small plane like this, it's something that's not too bad to deal with. Today in the sim I got a joystick which has no feedback feeling at all, and a screen to look at which gives me no peripheral vision. Weather like this, I'd say it's definitely harder to deal with in flight sim world than the real world, and I have done both. Doing okay, so autopilot on, just go for heading mode at the moment, so that's sort of where we're going to. Turn that on. VOR, the VOR's fairly close to where we're going, so it's another pain in the backside with turbulence in flight sim world, trying to keep your mouse button exactly where it's supposed to be on the click spots. We've got the VORs fairly close to where we're going, so we'll just head towards that. And everything seems to be doing what I wanted it to do, so that's good. Yeah, a little bit of climb just to make sure we clear that mountain ridge ahead. The X-Plane map says 5,300 is safe altitude for that square, although I'll just take whatever altitude we need to get, as we can see everything just fine. Yeah, so all good so far then. And for today's route, we've just taken off from XNZ-NK Nokamai, and if you're unsure of that one, using bigger places, if you drew a line from Queenstown down to Invercargill on the south coast, it's about halfway down that line. And as for where we're going, well, if you watch my last video upload in the with the final part of the upgrades to South Island, you may have heard me mention that now I've finished with those, there are two larger projects I quite fancy having a go at. And one of those two is going to be Christchurch Airport. You probably saw that there were two guys under the title of Convex Scenery who had started making a version of NZCH back when we had X-Plane 11. They arrived with a big start, then updates slowed down a bit, and as far as I know they haven't done anything at all since X-Plane 12 arrived. So they may not be back ever again, I've no idea. But no problem. I mean, they're two fairly young guys doing college, university or whatever, and I believe one of them and quite possibly both of them were doing flight training as well. So basically they've got a lot going on, and sadly real life does sometimes get in the way of flight sims. So, you know, people come and go for all sorts of reasons, don't they? So no worries with that. And as they say, when one door closes, another door blows off the side of your plane because somebody hadn't bolted it on properly. So I'm going to have a look at doing something for Christchurch. The Convex guys had done a few nice bits and pieces there, so I'll try and get in touch with them soon and see if I can use what they'd already done as a base for me to add to and expand on that, as it's quicker and easier and that makes sense. And as I am still here in Flight Sim World, we'll get it done eventually, and hopefully we'll have a very nice Convex stroke DASA NZCH and everything will be good. Yes, that's one of them. And, yeah, but the other big project I was thinking about was altitude hold, that's probably near enough. Yeah, the other big project I was thinking about is our destination today, which is NZTI Teari. Yeah, if you don't know where that is because I've just pronounced it wrong, it's a reasonably large GA type of airfield located fairly close to Dunedin Airport. What we have at the moment is a version I did for X-Plane 11 quite a long time ago, well before I learned how to make my own models. So it's just a library object airfield. You know, it's quite a nice one, but that's all it is right now. So with what the place is, where it's located, I think it's quite an interesting spot. And by that I mean sort of visually appealing, as there's quite a lot going on there. I mean, it's close to a small town, you've got some little farms and fields, an industrial area. There's a lot to look at when you're using the place taking off and landing. Plus the airfield itself, there's lots of hangars and buildings, so I think that could be a very nice place to do something with. And if you think of another large GA airfield similar, like Rangiora, we've now got a lovely full custom airport of that, and with a bit of time and effort applied to Teari, we can hopefully come up with something similar. Okay, perhaps it won't be quite as good because with Rangiora I had Vincent who went there quite a few times, got photos, videos, and with all the information he provided for me, he was very instrumental in how good that finished product was. And it's a bit far to ask him to come all the way down here half a dozen times, so I'll have to make do with other sources of information. Although a quick look on the internet, and I think there's enough stuff out there where I could probably do a reasonable job of making custom hangars and clubhouses and everything. So yeah, although if someone does live locally and would be happy to be my official photographer for this one, then I'd love to hear from you, although I'm not expecting that, and as I say, I should be okay without it anyway. Yeah, so that's the bigger plans, although before I start looking at any of that, I want to finish off Wellington Airport that I've been working on and uploading bit by bit. There's basically just one more arm of the terminal to do and a few other little things, and then I'm going to call that one finished, or as finished as I'm going to do for now anyway. Now, there will be little things not quite right about it, but for the most part that's stuff that won't impact your experience of flying a plane there. You shouldn't really notice them. The more obvious example of what I mean by that is if you ever see the pedestrian entrance into a terminal building from your cockpit, then at most airports that means something has gone very wrong with your flight. So I don't think it's that important to spend lots of time and effort doing that side of a building that you never see. As for what you will see, the remaining model making and finishing that arm of the terminal shouldn't be too hard. The much bigger pain in the backside might be the vehicles then. There's a lot of stuff driving around there, like baggage carts, etc. But with my version of the airport, a few things have changed and expanded, and the doors have moved and openings and all that kind of thing. So some of these vehicle routes now have them driving through walls, and I'll have to tweak and fix all that to suit the more current and accurate layout of everything, and that will be a bit time consuming. Yeah, if you've never played with editing those kind of things, you get you put in a series of nodes to create a line for the vehicle to follow, and in game the truck will then drive over each node, but sometimes do things such as making big wide turns between each one that just defies all kind of logic if you were ever to do that in real life. So yeah, it's a bit of trial and error with ground traffic to try and iron out all the stupid things that they do. It can be rather time consuming with that, but worth the effort, as all the moving trucks do add to the busy feel of the airport, and I certainly don't want to lose that. There's also one more thing I've sort of got on the drawing board to try, but I don't know if that will work anyway. As my regulars will know, I've now got the PGA 2K23 golf game, which comes with a course designer. I made a few courses, getting the hang of it, and all good fun. So I had an idea, as I wonder if I can find a nice bit of terrain somewhere in New Zealand where I can create a little fantasy airport, which will realistically just be a grass strip with not much else going on there, then add a big polygon of a golf course next to it. Then in the PGA game I'll try and make that course with an airstrip to the side of it, and a bit of switching between the two games and tweaking tree placements and stuff like that. I was wondering if I could get them to match. Okay, it's never going to be perfect, but thinking, okay, could you fly into a golf course, airfield in X-plane, then fire up PGA and play a round of golf there? Yeah, and I might have a look at that, I don't know. I think it may be one of those things that sounds better in my head than it ever will be in reality, and could be a right pain in the backside trying to match the visuals of the two separate games. And I could probably spend my time more productively on something else instead, but yeah, who knows, I might make a start just to see how easy or hard it might be. Getting a bit of snow there over on the left, which has just put a question into my head that I've got no idea about. I mean, it's certainly cold here at the moment in the middle of January, but that's what you would expect as I'm in England. Or more importantly, I'm in the Northern Hemisphere, and that's the same where Laminar Research headquarters are. With the Southern Hemisphere, that swaps, doesn't it? So NZ will be having higher temperatures now, and then June, July, August, when it's nice and warm for me in just my t-shirt, you will all be wearing hats and coats. So does X-Plane know that there are two hemispheres? Although thinking out loud, it probably wouldn't matter, would it? If X-Plane downloads real world weather, and it should set the sim world to match that, shouldn't it? Yeah, no idea. And no idea to both questions actually. If does X-Plane know there's two hemispheres, and would that make any difference? Saying that, I'm only assuming those white patches were snow that X-Plane has painted onto the ortho, which I know it can do. But this Lindemann ortho is knitted together from multiple passes of the satellite, and some places it's obvious with green or brown fields that those passes were at very different times of year. So I suppose it's certainly possible that that was a bit of snow, but it's on the ortho picture and nothing to do with X-Plane, the weather, the seasons or anything. Yeah, I'm thinking that would probably make more sense, which would of course make the whole thing I've been pondering for the last couple of minutes totally irrelevant and a complete waste of time. Of mine and yours. Never mind. Yeah, looks nice over there. Quite pretty. Yeah, there are nice bits of scenic views to look at, which I very rarely get to see down here. That's kind of a bit of a bonus of doing Tehri Airport, as it will give me an excuse to fly a bit further south if there's a nice destination to come to down here. Some of the airfields are nice enough, but generally this bottom end of South Island isn't something that I often fly to when I'm just having pleasure flights. There's a nice Alexandra airport now, and that's probably about as far south as I usually get most of the time. Thinking about it, Alexandra to Tehri is probably a similar kind of flight time and distance to what we're doing today, so yeah, that could be a route to fly once in a while. Yeah, with routes, I did toy once with the idea that there's some airfields which haven't got a lot there, or some other reason why I never really got inspired to fly into them. So I was thinking, if I marked on a map just all the places I do really like, I could then try and make fantasy routes which would make logical sense, where for instance you'd only go to a grass strip during the day when you can see it, but you could go to a lit airport like Auckland at night, have a few hubs to work out flights from those. So it's kind of like a little creating a fantasy company. You can number all of those routes, internet random number generator, and that's what I'll fly. So yeah, basically create a proper little sim world. Yeah, it's another of those file it in the nice idea but couldn't be bothered folder. Although this idea was a few years ago when I was still adding plenty of new things. So if I made a new scenery or upgraded an old one, then I'd want to add that to these routes, and that would screw up the whole thing. And yeah, that was largely why I never bothered doing it, and probably never will. closer. Yes, autopilot off because we can just do this final bit by hand. Don't need the VOR anymore, as we should be fine visually from here. It's not too hard to find the place. It's that ridge of mountains in the distance by the coast. The airfield is just this side on the flatter bit of land or wide valley or whatever it's officially called. And also the airfield is located right next to the town, which makes it easier to find visually too. I assume the town is called Taheri, hence the name of the airport, but whatever it is, it should be easy enough to spot. So now we've done with the VORs, turn that back to a wind indicator again. And looking at the map, there's 2 runways here, and one of them seems to be almost perfectly aligned with the wind, which is great news. 16 knots when we took off, but we've increased to 25 now. 25 knots of crosswind is not good, but 25 knots blowing straight in your face, that's no problem at all, so happy there. All good for our make it up as we go along approach and landing, because as per usual with my flights, I'm not bothered looking up any procedures to know for certain what the actual rules are here. I think coming in this way we'll do a downwind over the town and make our turn onto base and finals from there. Well, I'm guessing that's not what happens in real life, because the circuit to the other side of the airfield, that takes you over farms and fields, which gives us options for an emergency landing. The way we'll do it today, the emergency landing choice would be pick a street, try not to hit any parked cars or pedestrians. And for some reason people would consider that the less safe circuit direction for the general public on the ground. As we're most likely breaking that rule, we may as well break some others, and as the airfield is very close to Dunedin, which has large jet traffic, I'm sure there would be some kind of airspace restrictions, or at very least a requirement to be talking to Dunedin Tower by now. I know there are other places that exist in various parts of the world where a small GA field next to a larger one, they might have air corridors or specific approach procedures, and I'd be surprised if something like that didn't exist here. But, yeah, we'll just ignore it. Yeah, I like the look of this, that industrial area next to the field, next to the airfield, town, everything else. A bit of time and effort for a custom airport scenery, and this could be good. Additionally, this was reasonably early in my scenery making career, and since then I've expanded the area of where I fill in all the surrounding area stuff. So there'll be a lot more little houses and trees going off into the distance and all that kind of thing. That will be make things look even better. So yeah, this could be a good one. Something I'll enjoy doing too. Yeah, the larger places like Wellington I'm working on now, and Christchurch, which I'll do in the future, those sort of big slab of concrete type of airfields, I find them less interesting to do than GA style airports, where I can be a little bit more creative with bits of clutter and things like that to give it a little bit more eye candy, make it look nice. Yeah, just looking at the explained map, which shows Traffic Global aircraft, there may well be a plane just lining up on the runway. It should be gone by the time we get there, hopefully. Not sure how well this is going to come out on the YouTube video, but here in X-Plane I think I can see it. It's moving. And yep, that's up. That's in the air now and out of our way, so we're good to continue and land. Okay, let's have a replay. Right, flaps, lights, and landing debrief, which is what the hell just happened there? I've made a few really smooth touchdowns lately, and that was another really gentle one. I've got a reputation to uphold here as one of South Fiordland's worst bush pilots, who regularly breaks planes and destroys engines with prop strikes. If word starts getting out that I might actually know what I'm doing and be able to make proper landings, yeah, I think next time I'll be in a different plane. Might be too familiar with this one, so yeah, the next Just Flying episode will be something I usually don't get out the hangar, and we'll see if I can get back to putting some dents into the runways. Nice little row of hangars. Fine at the moment, but yeah, custom ones definitely better. Well, actually, if you want to see a 737 making a complete mess of a landing, I'll put another link into the description below. It's another from that guy who live streams from my local airport, and a 2E737 which seemed to totally forget that there was a manoeuvre called a flare and just flew it into the ground. Very impressive. I don't know which one of them was pilot flying, but whoever it was, they could definitely get a job with South Fiordland Express. Okay, that's little, I presume, clubhouse kind of building, but there's some room to park there, isn't there? So just slot ourselves in between you two. Well, that will do. Done. So there we go, the final look at NZTI in its old X-Plane 11 state. Next time it appears in one of my YouTube videos, it will be the finished product of a brand new and hopefully lovely looking custom one. So yeah, I'll see you again soon with another video when yeah, I'll potentially get back to crashing a plane again. Right, see you soon. Bye.